Hey, treasured daughters and sons of the Most High God, I highly welcome you to today's episode. Hope this video meets you in good health, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. I would like us to look at the ripple effect of kindness in a story recorded in the Bible. This story is that of a man called David, aka King David. Now, a little backstory. We all know that David was living with Saul in Saul's house, and since the day that David killed Goliath and the women were praising David instead of Saul, Saul became jealous and then he started planning to kill David. So David heard of the news and ran. He ran away to Ziph, like the outskirts of the town. So Saul now was looking for him. Some pocknosed men went and told Saul that David is hiding in Ziph. So Saul went now to Ziph to look for David and kill him. But when David heard that Saul came to Ziph to look for him, he verified if that information was true. When he finally found that that information was true, that's when he went, and we know the story how he cut part of Saul's cloth and show him that, why are you following me? Look at your clothes. If I wanted to kill you, I would have killed you since, but why are you following me? And Saul was like, oh, I'm sorry, blah 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 blah. David went and sat down and was like, this Saul like this, if I remain here, this Saul will finally kill me. So I need to totally leave Israel, to totally leave the territory of Israel. That's how he left now. So David left with his 600 men and went over to join King Achish, Achish of Gath. They and all of their families, they settled there. When Saul heard that David had run away and gone to another country or another town, he just gave up now and went him back home. So David started living with King Achish. They were living in the royal city itself. But I'm sure David was like, let them not give me handshake and then I'm taking an embrace. So he told King Achish that, let me go and live in the country, like in the village or down side, instead of living in this royal city with you. So King Achish was like, anyway, I want to live, we'll go and live. So King Achish gave him the town of Ziklag. So David lived there for many years. One time now, the Philistines they had to attack Israel. In those days they were mostly fighting. So the King Achish told David that there is an attack, so you will need to join me in battle. David was excited. I'm sure he was like, this is the time for me to prove to you my loyalty, for you accepting me and taking me. That feeling when somebody saves you from something. I'm sure David was like, no problem, I am with you, we'll fight. You will see now who you have, you will see what I can do. The Philistine armies, they were ready for battle. They set their troops in groups of hundreds and thousands and so on. And then now the Philistine commanders, they asked King Achish that, what are these Hebrews doing here? That means referring to David and his men. What are they doing here? You want him? See, he would turn against us because now he'll be looking for Saul's favor. So he would turn and be fighting against us. We don't want him here. Send him back. Let him go back a bit. We don't want him here. So King Achish had to send David back. And when David left that country or that village where he was to go and prepare for war, it took them some days. It was not just something that he was supposed to leave and then go. So the time that he left to go and start preparing, and the time that they drove him back to come back, he came and met that people had entered that village. The Amalekites, they had crushed that town, that Ziklag where David left and went that village, and they burnt it down. The Bible says they carried their women, their children, everything, but they did not kill anyone. No, they just carried them away. And when David and his men came and realized what has happened, they realized the ruin that had happened. Obviously, the pride of a man is his family. They wept until they could not weep again. Imagine that they took David's 2 wives. At that time, he had 2 wives, Ahinoam and Abigail. And then the Bible says that David was in great danger because all his men were very bitter about losing their sons and their daughters. And then they began to talk of stoning him. Can you imagine? But the Bible says that, but David found strength in the Lord. And then he asked the priest, bring me the ephod. So they brought it to him, and then he inquired of the Lord, should I chase these people? Should I go and chase these people, or will I catch them? Can you imagine? If it's me like that, you're asking what? You're asking the answer. But this is one thing about David, that he would always ask of the Lord. Anyway, that's an aside. So God answered David, and then God told him, yes, go after them, you will catch them and you will recover everything that was lost. So that was the word that was given to David. David had heard a word from the Lord that go, you will catch them and you will recover everything. So David was going backed by God. That's why we'll begin our reading from 1 Samuel chapter 30 from verse 9. It says, so David and his 600 men set out, and they came to the brook Besor. But 200 of the men were too exhausted to cross the brook. So David continued the pursuit with all 400 men. Along the way, they found an Egyptian man in a field. Now pay attention, because this is our main text. Verse 10 says, along the way they found an Egyptian man in a field and brought him to David. They gave him some bread to eat and water to drink. They also gave him part of a fig cake and 2 clusters of raisin, for he hadn't had anything to eat or drink for 3 days and nights. Before long, his strength returned. Now let me do a little bit of commentary before we continue reading. You see, this could be seen as a distraction, because they were going on a journey to go and fight the Amalekites who had come and destroyed their towns, taking their women and their children, their sons and daughters, and so on. They caused ruin. So as they were going on the way, they saw an Egyptian man that was tired, probably a slave, abandoned, tired. Let me not spill the tea too early. So they stopped and attended to that man. They gave him food. This might be seen as distraction, because that was not what they were not coming. That kind of mission that you are going, your blood is hot, you want to meet the Amalekites at all costs, so you are not even paying attention to anything on the way. But no, they showed kindness to this man. They stopped, they gave the man food, they gave him water, they even gave him cake, or more cake in this economy. Verse 13 says, David asked him, to whom do you belong and where do you come from? I am an Egyptian, the slave of an Amalekite, he replied. My master abandoned me 3 days ago because I was sick. We were on our way back from raiding the Kerethites in the Negev, the territory of Judah, and the land of Caleb, and we had just burned Ziklag. The man did not even know that this is their enemies, or this is the people that are coming to look for them. Can you imagine now the information that man gave them, because they were kind to the man, and then they asked the man now questions, and then now the man gave the information. You see now how the act of, if they had just passed by, maybe if they had just maybe like passed him by and gone and continued looking for the Amalekites, I don't think they would have had that information from that man, because they would definitely have not had that information from that man. Verse 15 says, will you lead me to this band of raiders? David asked. The young man replied, if you take an oath in God's name that you will not kill me or give me back to my master, then I will guide you to them. So he led David to them, and they found the Amalekites spread out across the fields, eating and drinking and dancing with joy because of the vast amount of plunder they had taken from the Philistines and the land of Judah. David and his men rushed in among them and slaughtered them throughout that night and the entire next day until evening. None of the Amalekites escaped except 400 young men who fled on camels. David got back everything the Amalekites had taken, and he rescued his 2 wives. Nothing was missing, small or great, son or daughter, nor anything else that had been taken. David brought everything back. You see, all this because of an act of kindness. Oh, it is true that God had given him the word that go, you will conquer them, you will take everything back. But his own partner that he had to do, you see that if he did not act kindly to this man would not have shown him the way, because this man now was like, okay, since you have acted kindly to me, give me the trust that you will not kill me, and I will tell you everything, and don't hand me over to my former master. Do you see how kindness, this little act of kindness, saved David the stress of maybe looking for where the Amalekites are, looking for how to start attacking, whether it's from behind or from wheresoever. But this man just led him into his enemy. The man just followed him, led him to where he had to attack. all because of an act of kindness. They met a man on the road, for God's sake. The man did not even call for help or whatever, but the man was brought. They just stopped and attended to the man. They just stopped and saw that, no, let me do an act of kindness to this man. Kindness will always go a long way at the end. Most of the times we are afraid to be vulnerable. That's why we shield ourselves from being kind. We are like, we don't want that people should take us for granted. But no, an act of kindness is always the greater act. I encourage every one of us today, look for where you can post an act of kindness and post an act of kindness. Look around you. You will see opportunities to be kind to someone today. Be kind to someone today. I remember in the beginning I promised you about a bonus benefit of an act of kindness, which is clarity. Clarity along the journey. God had given him the word that go, you will conquer everything and you will bring them back and so on. You will have victory. So as a result of that, his act of kindness, he was going, but he was not yet clear on how it was going to happen that he will conquer all of them. But because of his act of kindness, because he was kind to that young man, you see how it became more and more clear to him. The man gave him directions on how to go about things. So clarity, acts of kindness really goes a long way. It is just beyond the short-term benefit that it might, or the short-term satisfaction that they might give the other person. It goes beyond that. It can give you clarity, and it gives you benefits too for the long term. If you watched right up to this place, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe. And Maranatha, Jesus is coming very soon. Till I meet you in my next video, do not forget to show an act of kindness to somebody today.